very warm welcome. You're watching WION-VOA Co-Production with me, Molly Gambhir. The Chinese military has extended provocative exercises around Taiwan days after the drills were scheduled to end. China says it is demonstrating the ability to blockade or invade the self-ruled island, which Beijing claims as its own. And Taiwanese residents are not impressed. VOA's Bill Gallo reporting from Taipei.
A display of overwhelming force off the coast of Taiwan. China's message, you are not a sovereign country. But the drills are having another effect, driving Taiwanese public opinion even further against China. In Taipei, most residents are used to dealing with China's threats, though many say they don't appreciate being bullied.
It's not great from China. It doesn't really help boost my feelings for China, if that makes sense.
China wants to control everything, like the people, their lifestyle. But in Taiwan, we have our rights, our authorities to control our own life.
And they say they want to re-educate us after reunification, which sounds awfully familiar.
Just like in Hong Kong, China proposes a one country, two systems policy for Taiwan. But China's crackdown on Hong Kong has erased that distinction.
We can see Hong Kong now is just one China, right? And Chinese swallow their promise. So how we can trust the Beijing?
But those fears aren't keeping Taiwanese from enjoying the present. This frontline island, not far from the Chinese drills, held a dance party over the weekend.
We understand that these drills are a way of communicating Beijing's anger or Beijing's dissatisfaction. And they are, quite frankly, a very violent form of communication. And it only serves to increase the antipathy that Taiwanese people hold towards the government of China.
In Taipei, the idea of unifying with China is more unpopular than ever. Most also oppose declaring independence. Polls suggest the vast majority just want to keep things the way they are. Bill Gallo, VOA News, Taipei.
And to speak about this further, joining me on the broadcast is Voice of America correspondent Chris Cascio, who's at the White House in Washington. Chris, China extended its live-fire military drills around Taiwan into this week to show its dissatisfaction over that visit from Nancy Pelosi. Break down for us what the U.S. has said about Beijing's reaction so far.
Good morning from Washington, D.C., Molly. Top U.S. diplomat Antony Blinken called China's reaction disproportionate and dangerous. The Secretary of State sat down with VOA during a regional ASEAN summit in Cambodia. He added that the U.S. will act responsibly and not engage in any provocative actions of its own. Meanwhile, Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman visited the Solomon Islands to mark the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Guadalcanal during World War II. You might remember the Solomons, a small but strategically important Pacific island nation, signed a security pact with China in April, leading many to believe the region could see an increased military presence. Sherman said the U.S. is working to expand its diplomatic presence in the Pacific Island region. Molly?
Right. Chris, two important U.S. allies, meanwhile, Japan and South Korea, are responding in different ways to China's unprecedented military moves surrounding Taiwan. What did they have to say?
Well, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said the country will drastically strengthen its ability to defend itself. Analysts note polls in Japan show increasing support for more defense spending and even the introduction of offensive strike capabilities. Meanwhile, the top South Korean and Chinese diplomats met in China. In separate statements, those foreign ministers called for the development of relations based on successful three-decade-old commercial ties. Molly?
All right, stay with me, Chris. We're moving on for now to how the January 6 attack on the U.S. Capitol looms large in the western state of Wyoming, where Republican Representative Liz Cheney risks losing her seat in the Congress for pursuing an investigation into former President Donald Trump. From Wyoming, VOA congressional correspondent Katherine Gibson explains why the state serves as a key test of how the voters feel about the former president.
The least populated state in the country, Wyoming has been solidly Republican for decades. But in these mountains and rural towns, just what that means is up for debate, as two candidates disagree over Donald Trump.
Donald Trump made a purposeful choice to violate his oath of office, to ignore the ongoing violence against law enforcement, to threaten our constitutional order. There is no way to excuse that behavior.
Representing Wyoming since 2017, Cheney has been one of a few Republicans to denounce Trump, voting to impeach him last year and co-chairing the congressional investigation into the January 6 attack on the U.S. Capitol.
He's a coward.
Even though she is the daughter of a former Republican vice president, Cheney was expelled from Wyoming's Republican Party for her stance on Trump.
We have to secure a massive victory for Harriet Hageman.
Trump endorsed Cheney's party primary challenger, former attorney Harriet Hageman. The two candidates clashing over the former president in their only debate.
The election was not stolen. She knows it wasn't stolen. I think that she can't say that it wasn't stolen because she's completely beholden to Donald Trump.
We have a committee in Congress right now that they're focusing on something that happened 18 months ago. They're not focusing on the issues that are important to the people in Wyoming.
Heading into the party primary next week, polling shows Wyoming voters are siding with Hageman on Cheney's investigation into Trump.
Cheney's just stepped over the line on too much stuff, and really, she doesn't live in Wyoming. She hasn't for a long time, and I don't think she has the Wyoming values behind her.
She cannot like Donald Trump. She can do whatever she wants to try to get him where he can't run again. The whole January 6th, whatever that whole nonsense is all about. But the voters in Wyoming, I think, for the majority, stand solidly behind Trump.
But some Wyoming voters say Cheney represents true Republican values.
We need a leader like Liz. I think that it's important for us to look at what happened with both the Trump presidency and then January 6th. And I think that truth has to overcome lies. So, I believe that that's what she's trying to do, is to get to the truth.
Cheney is being stepped on by Trump, okay, which is wrong in every which way. I don't like Hageman. I don't know what she's done.
Donald Trump got his biggest win of the 2020 election here in Wyoming, commanding 70% of the vote. So Congresswoman Liz Cheney has an uphill fight to win. Katherine Gibson, VOA News, Wyoming.
And going back across now to Voice of America correspondent Chris Casqueo in Washington. Chris, federal agents searched the Florida home of former U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday. Tell us more about the focus of that investigation.
Well, the Washington Post is reporting that the FBI was seeking, among other things, classified documents related to nuclear weapons. The Justice Department has been actively investigating the discovery of classified information in boxes of records that were taken to Trump's Florida residence after he left the White House in January of 2021. Earlier this year, the National Archives and Records Administration said it had found classified material in 15 boxes at Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida. It then referred the case to the Justice Department. The Justice Department has asked the court to unseal the federal warrant the FBI used to search Trump's Florida estate. Announcing the action Thursday, Attorney General Merrick Garland cited the substantial public interest in this matter, and the judge could rule on that this afternoon here in the U.S. Molly.
And in addition to Liz Cheney, former President Trump has targeted members of the Congress who voted to impeach him after the January 6, 2021 insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. How do you assess his political fortunes with the latest news of the FBI searching his home?
Well, it doesn't seem to have hurt Trump with Republican voters, but the Republican politicians who have opposed him are the ones paying a heavy political price. In all, nearly 180 Trump-endorsed candidates up and down the ballot have won their primary since May, while fewer than 20 have lost. Only 2 of the 10 House Republicans who supported Trump's impeachment after the January 6th insurrection are expected back in Congress next year due to losing their primaries or retirements. Now, Trump's allies are very confident about his ability to win the GOP's presidential nomination in 2024. Top aides who had initially pushed him to launch his campaign after these November midterms are now encouraging him to announce his candidacy sooner to help freeze out would-be Republican challengers, especially financially. Molly?
Right, Chris Casqueo getting us those updates. Thanks very much. We're leaving it there for the moment. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the WION-VOA Co-Production.